Hello, everyone. Today we're going to talk about compounding in English grammar. This is a new way of looking at English sentences. Compounding is a concept that deserves more attention. We usually associate compound in English grammar with compound sentences. Okay, basically, this is where we hear about compound, the word compound in English grammar. But when we learn English compound sentences, that's the time that we learn compounding. We also learned compound complex sentences in some grammar books. Okay, that's about the only cases when compounding is mentioned. However, compounding is much more than that. Compounding happens not only between complete sentences, between complete simple sentences or complete complex sentences. It actually happens within sentences. So compounding is a way to elaborate ideas by gluing various parts of a sentence together. And sometimes it actually glues sentences together, not just the parts. Now, let's talk about compounding as an independent idea. Compounding is fundamental. Reason number one, compounding happens within a sentence. In this case, it is sometimes called parallel structure. So we know that in English, okay, there are four very basic parts of the sentence. And I call it the four plates of an English sentence. So these four parts of a sentence usually is played by the parts of speech, okay, the words in that part of speech. For example, adjective, okay, place part of the adjective, noun plays what noun does, right, the subject and object, and verb plays the verb part, and adverb plays the adverb part. However, we also learned that besides this canonical parts of speeches, substitutes happen. For example, we could use noun as an adjective. We also use infinitive to verbs as adjective. And we use ing verb and past participle as adjectives. For noun, okay, to replace noun, there are pronouns, there are infinitives, and there are also ing verbs. And adverbs sometimes are played by preposition plus a noun, or infinitive, or present participle, past participle, or adjective changed into adverb by changing the spelling of it, okay, by adding ly to it. Now, within each plate of the English sentence, words of the same kind could be compounded. Let's look at the adjective as the first example. Okay, for example, you could compound adjective with adjectives. That means you could use three adjectives all at once, okay, in a series, all right, with the last one ending with an and in front of it. Okay, you could do so to the noun serving as adjectives, and you could do so to the infinitive verbs, the present participle and past participle. So it's a series of the same kind of words, what I call the compounding of the parts of speech. A lot of grammar books call this parallel structure. And this compounding happens with adjectives, with nouns, and the replacement or substitute for nouns for subjects, okay, which are nouns, pronouns, and infinitive verbs and ing verbs. And that could happen with the verbs. Okay, this is the third part. So when we look at the verb, we look at them very carefully. This is not simple verb. This we should call it predicate verb, right? So that means the verb has to be complete verbs, has to be full verbs, has to be main verb. To do that, the verb has to tell time, tell tenses. So here I give a list of all the possible structures in that serve as predicate verbs. Verb in its past form, verb in its present form, Okay, present form or present form when the subject is third person singular, verb in its continuous tense form, perfect tense form, perfect continuous tense form, passive form, perfect passive form, or verbs followed by infinitive to or followed by gerunds. So when you do compounding with the verbs, we usually only compound the main verb part, not the auxiliary. For example, in past simple tense, we could compound the verb, each one of them, and in present tense, we do the same. However, when it comes to continuous tense, we compound the participle part, not the auxiliary. That happens across the board with all the structures. We do not compound the, or we do not parallel or repeat the auxiliary forms of be and have. Okay, we only compound the participle parts. When it is adverb, okay, we simply just repeat them within each of the plates, and then ideally they should be of the same spelling, of the same grammar structure. But sometimes in terms of adjectives and adverbs, so long as they are adjective and adverb, repetition happens not just within the same parts of speech, okay, but also in mixed forms. Now, so that is compounding. Compounding happens within the sentence, but compounding is important because it happens between sentences. When it happens between simple sentences, that is the time that we are most familiar with. We see that's a compound sentence. I use a very simple form to illustrate the compound sentences, compounded simple sentences, basically. So the first part is a simple sentence. So it should finish with a period or with exclamation. If it's a question, it should finish with a question. But remember, when it is a question, then the verb and the subject order is changed. That's why I marked this part red. All right. So usually that's the normal case. Two simple sentences are separated by capital letter at the beginning of the sentence and the one of the four punctuation marks at the end. That's the normal way. Okay, normally sentences should be separated. But when the two simple sentences have close relationship, okay, has one of 7 close relationships represented by these 7 coordinating conjunctions. They could be put together using a comma and a coordinating conjunction word. All right. So if the second simple sentence is the reason for the first simple sentence, you could connect the two with one coordinating conjunction word for with the comma. All right. And of course, you still end them with the and punctuation mark, one of 4 and punctuation mark. Remember, when it's question, the subject verb order is inverted into verb subject order. So that's why all my question marks are in red to tell you pay attention to the question order. Question is formed by word order, not just by this question mark. Okay, so this is when we are connecting two simple sentences and making them into a compound sentence. So compounding means I could repeat sentences or basically glue them, okay, together. And after that, we could also compound complex sentences. All right. So example is like this. Here we are. I have one sentence which has the four plates. And when we look at it carefully, we discovered that the adjective is a subject-verb structure, so is the noun, so is the adverb. The only thing that doesn't have a subordinating clause is the verb part. Verbs are the, especially predicate verbs, are the most important part of English sentence. We don't find subordinate clauses under this category. All right, so when I have a complex sentence, actually I can connect another complex sentence to the previous complex sentence using what else? Again, the coordinating conjunctions. So why is compounding more important than compound sentence? Because compounding is a fundamental tool in English sentence. It does not only compound simple sentences, it compounds a lot of stuff. So I deliberately use this way of saying compounding compounds, meaning just adds up things together, but it adds up what is there, what is already there. The very important thing you should remember it doesn't create new structure. Why do I say this? Because we probably would think a compound sentence is a new type of a sentence. There's nothing new in there. All you have done is just glue two already made simple sentences together or two complex sentences together. So therefore, its compound sentence shouldn't be a sentence type. So here we are. What is the importance? Okay, what is the significance or the insignificance of compounding as an independent concept? What I am trying to say here is compounding exists not only between simple sentences. It is a pervasive phenomenon in English grammar, meaning it exists everywhere and it is an independent concept. It is not a sentence type problem. Secondly, compounding devices or coordinating conjunctions, they work as adhesive, which glue substances of the same kind together. Okay, beside word parts, they glue ready-made sentences together. So they serve as glue. So the compounding, you could also translate it as gluing. As a result, we have compounded words, compounded phrases, compounded sentences, and we also have compounded complex sentences. However, we should be aware that sentence making activities happen in simple sentences and in complex sentences. Compounding is a minor skill. It merely expands already made simple or complex sentences. It doesn't make new sentences. Okay, so therefore, I do not consider compound sentence as a sentence type. In English, there isn't such a type. There is only the type of simple sentence and complex sentence. Why? Because all the grammar happens in simple sentence. How you make a sentence, okay, the skill is there. And of course, the skill of making a complex sentence is also a unique set of skill. But in compounding, you don't make new sentences. You glue already made sentences together. Why is that important? It is important because in compounding, there's no grammar skill. It is like using glue. But in grammar skill, I'm saying you don't have to consider tenses, voice, subject, verb agreement, or how to convert a simple sentence into a subordinate clause to be used in another simple sentence. You don't have those technical considerations. All right, so that's why I do not think compound sentence is a type of sentence. It is just glued simple sentences. So to summarize, compounding compounds, but does not compose. That's it. Thank you very much.